half for Brooklyn sharpshooter Joe Harris tonight. 6 out of 8 from 3 in the first half. He had 22 points to lead the way for the Nets at that point. And right now, in the third quarter with about 7.5 to go, Brooklyn having fun at Boston's expense, leading 87-55. That is game 2 of their best-of-7 series. The Nets took the opener. Coming up a little bit later on, game 2 in Phoenix. Suns hosting the Lakers. Phoenix took the opener in that one. Neither Anthony Davis or LeBron James played very well in game 1 for L.A. ESPN's Max Kellerman says, as far as LeBron is concerned, well, he's terrific, but he's no longer at the very top of his game.
The best version of LeBron was in Miami. It's just like Jordan. People are like, oh, the second three-peat, he was even more mature. Shut up. Jordan in the first three-peat was the most vicious force of nature that ever lived. LeBron James in Miami, when they went back-to-back, was the best he ever played. He played 82 games or whatever it was, however many games, close to a full season. Both ends of the floor as well as they could possibly be played. That was the best LeBron.
And that was Max Kellerman on ESPN Radio. In the NFL, while Aaron Rodgers is staying away from the Packers OTAs, in Dallas, Dak Prescott is participating with the Cowboys, kind of taking a slow, steady approach in his return from that fractured ankle he suffered in the middle of last season. And the NFL has alerted all the teams that they can have fans at training camp this summer as long as the teams follow state and local COVID-19 guidelines.
Hey, it's Greening, and the NBA playoffs rolling on. We're starting to figure out who the legit contenders are and which teams are headed home early. We'll be talking about it with me, It's Greening, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN+.
Isn't this a sports show?
So I got a haircut yesterday, 2 days ago. I also brought the beard in a little bit today.
Ooh.
And so this is basically, I'm just waiting for the guy that said I looked fatter on Facebook than I sound on the radio.
Almost entirely.
Just come back now. It was mostly fluff. Facebook commenter.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
He also called into the postgame show at one point, and he's cool. Mom, please stop bullying that guy. It's fine. Not a joke. Not a joke. Not a joke. None of what I just said was a joke. Every single syllable was a real thing.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
That was bad. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but it was bad. There it is. Hold on. Let me change that. That was bad. I admit it. I'm not sorry.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Got a handful of things to talk about over the course of this first hour here on Almost Entirely Sports. It's a Tuesday, so maybe you're wanting us to skip to the good part. Seth Keysor will join us in an hour, but we're not getting there yet. We'll get to him in about 55 minutes, whenever it's his rightfully earned turn. In the meantime, we'll talk about something that happened last night after the show that I thought was pretty interesting. We'll talk about the NBA action that has been, continues to be, will be later on tonight. But first, a story about Twitter successfully bullying a corporation into shame and, really, I have to imagine, a relatively significant loss of money. If you haven't yet had a chance to see the new local market caps for all 30 Major League Baseball teams that New Era put out earlier today, they are special.
That's one word for it.
It is, and
Very
I'm sticking
special.
to it. They are special. Here's what they have. Just sort of, this most of them have some form of this.
They're unique.
It is a bunch of relevant area codes.
They're breathtaking.
On one side of the logo in the center, bunch of area codes off to the side. On the other side is some sort of iconography that represents the team or the city. There's a World Series patch on the side for all of the ones that I have seen. There is a little script that says the name above, kind of cockeyed above the patch that says the city name, and then like a little slogan. Weirdly, Cincinnati's. Quick, what would you call, how would you shorten Cincinnati? Not a joke answer, it's your real answer. What is the colloquial shortening of Cincinnati?
CIN.
If you're going to say it out loud.
Natty.
Cincy.
It's Cincy.
I've never heard anybody say Cincy before.
Really?
What?
I think so.
Well, the hat says Natty.
Yeah.
So I guess we should buy this one for Rudy.
I will say
Natty Light, the hat?
That's right.
In Kentucky, which is only 2 hours south of Cincinnati, it's Natty. No, it's not Cincinnati. That's Kentucky. I don't know what people in Cincinnati say.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm bullying that specific part of it for no reason. We'll get to the legitimate stuff momentarily.
I would say Cincy is the more common usage.
There's another piece of just sort of random clip art iconography on the other side. Then on the back is like a script with the team name plus some more sort of clip art iconography. I'll give you the specifics of the Royals one momentarily.
Is Cincinnati Skyline Chili?
I don't have a 360 view of it, so I could not tell you.
That stuff is bad.
The Arizona Diamondbacks, I believe, just has a burrito on the back, which honestly was getting me very close to the line of ironically liking them.
Mm-hmm.
The area codes, I don't know much about the Cincinnati area, but it just says 513 off the side. And just like plain normal white font. If you're thinking in your head, if you haven't seen these, you're thinking, wow, I wonder how they made all of this look good. They didn't. They did not. The area codes for the Los Angeles Dodgers hat. Here are the area codes for the LA area that apparently Dodgers fans would want to be represented by on the front of their hat. 661-818-747-626-213-323-310-424-562. That means there are 27 digits on the front of the Los Angeles Dodgers hat. Well, what about the Royals one, you may be saying?
What about the Royals hat, Josh?
Thank you for asking. Front of the hat, blue, just blue hat. Front of the hat, KC. Back of the hat on the bottom.
Good start.
MLB logo.
Uh-huh.
Standard.
Yeah, that's fine.
New Era logo over on the side.
Sounds like a good hat.
Above the New Era logo is a patch of the flag of Kansas City.
Okay, make sure.
I will say this.
I did not know Kansas City had a flag.
Well, it's because it's not very good. You do know it on some level, though, because remember the Chiefs draft caps from, I believe, 2 full years ago, where some of them was white in the middle, a blue pane, a white pane, and there was that big sort of fountain logo in the middle.
Oh, okay. I see it here.
That is Kansas City's flag. There is a very interesting TED Talk that I watched a few years back about what's is it like? It's like vexology or something. Rudy, Google the study of flags for me. But I'm a bit of a like flag design hobbyist on some level.
Vexillology.
Vexillology. Thank you.
Yes.
I
close.
like well-designed flags. I don't like flags that have text on them because they're impossible to read from far away. Kansas City, I saw some like alternate flags where it's just half blue, half red, but with a white fountain in the middle, no text. It would be much better. Currently, it looks like the French flag with Kansas City in the middle. Is that right? French flag. Is it the same pattern?
Yeah, it kind of looks like
it's the exact.
flag,
It's the exact same. It's literally the French flag with a little logo in the middle. It's not very good. That's fine. If they put the flag on the other side, though, like sometimes you'd see like an American flag on the side of a hat, I could see it. It's weirdly above the New Era logo. Well, you keep going back. Let's work our way around. We're gonna work our way back around the back here. There is a little patch of a pig.
Okay, barbecue, sure.
It's not
like a
placed
little
well. It's not placed well. If it was the design on the front of the hat, maybe.
Now, is the little design of the pig like one of those designs, where it shows all the little cuts of meat?
No, that would be. I would wear that hat. There's a minor league team that did that.
They should have had that.
I would wear that. But no, and then also just directly across from the pig on the other quadrant of the back is a golden state of Missouri. Looks like it has a date in it. I'm guessing it's the year that Missouri became a state or something, and I don't know what that is because I lived in Kansas my whole life until like a year ago.
You can't have Kansas there too?
I mean, they're in the
We'll
state
get
of
to
Missouri.
Kansas.
Oh, yeah. Do you need the date? I mean,
I don't know. It's just in there.
I don't know. Like, if you have the outline of the state, it's like kind of like fine.
Rudy, if I could ask these questions to the person who designed this hat, I would have many more.
Do you need the date?
Between the pig and the gold Missouri is a Kansas City script you might see on like a Royals away jersey, but it basically touches both of them. It's very cluttered. Then on the other side it says Kansas City in a script. What would you say kind of the colloquial phrase for, he's like, Kansas City. What would be kind of the slogan or motto you may attach to the city?
It's tool time.
It's the loudest I've ever heard Beards laugh into a microphone. I would say City of Fountains, perhaps, kind of the thing. We play into that pretty frequently, right?
Yes.
Or maybe Texas barbecue can eat my bleep, something.
It's really just all barbecue. Can eat
That's
our
true.
Bleep St. Louis.
Bleep St. Louis.
Bleep St. Louis is a pretty good one.
It says Heart of America. And I think of Heart of America being kind of more of a
that's a
Kansas
Kansas
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
I don't think Kansas City should even try to get on that Heart of America stuff. Because Heart of America, leave that for like Wichita, right? Like I was born in Wichita and lived in Wichita for a long time. Wichita needs to just be the heart of America, right?
Lawrence, Kansas is the center of Google Earth.
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Heart of America is a Kansas thing.
And then below that it says World Series 1985, and it's the Pats, from that logo and everything.
Wait, but Joshua.
Yes.
Wasn't there a World
Beardsley.
Series that was more recent than
there was.
1985?
I don't really know what the logic was there, but they picked one and they went with it. And it got that script above it. Again, this is not well designed. Then we get to the front of the hat.
Could only go with one of them, I guess. Not enough room for two. Too many other digits.
If you're looking at the hat straight on, the right side of the KC logo has a saxophone. Just slapped there.
Jazz music.
Just slapped there. They just womp. I would argue, much like jazz, this hat should have been about the patches you don't put on it. But they did not feel the same way.
I think jazz music is pretty, historical in Kansas City.
Yeah, but it's a bad design.
Well, I'm not arguing that.
The design sucks.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you got your area codes, because all these have area codes.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I'm going to stop I'm trying to lead you along and describe this hat if you haven't seen it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead before I get to the area codes. I'm going to go ahead and just editorialize. I like hats. I've got a ton of them.
I'm wearing one right now.
So am I.
I have a Royals hat hanging up in our office.
I like hats. I like fashion.
I should go get that hat.
I like risky hats, I like a hat with a statement. I like a hat that's trying to do something new. I like fashion that's trying to push the limits a little bit. This hat sucks. There's no balance to any of these. They're all terrible looking.
What about the zip codes?
The
Or
area codes.
I mean, that's going to save it, right?
The area codes on the front.
They've got all this. You listed all of the ones for LA. They've got all the zip codes for Kansas City.
I'm going to go bottom to top.
Okay.
Bottom one is 913. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Kansas side of the Kansas City state line.
Are either one of you 913?
I'm a 913.
Nope.
Or 913. Gotcha.
Beards, what's your area code, if I could ask?
Oh, it's an 816.
816 on the Missouri side. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Rudy, what's your area code?
785.
Which one is that?
It's kind of
Kinda
the
Lawrence area, right?
So obviously I'm Garnett, but it's the
Actually, that Beards
Lawrence.
had a 785.
Yeah, the Lawrence, Garnett, that whole
That's on the
Ottawa.
hat, actually.
Yeah.
785 is there.
We're an hour south of
Sure.
You didn't say anything there about Mike.
Right
I'm
on.
going bottom to the top. I'm going bottom to
Okay,
top.
okay.
It's 913, then it's 785.
Okay.
And then above that, check your guys' phones if you want. How many phone numbers do you have with a 620 area code? Because I have like 5.
Yeah,
Let's see.
my
You, Rudy, might have quite a few.
I
a
have
couple.
one.
Most
of my family is 620, but they're from like the kind of this. They're either Olathe to Spring Hill. To
It's kind of a
Lewisburg.
I looked at the chart or whatever. This is a southern sort of Kansas thing,
Which
right?
would make sense.
Well, it's pretty far into Kansas.
Sure.
And so far, working bottom up, we haven't gotten a lot of Missouri representation here. 620 is a lot of Kansas that is not necessarily near Kansas City.
But that's fine. I'm sure they've got other ones on there.
And then we have the last one.
Yeah, 816.
Yeah. 620 is Wichita, essentially. No, 316 is Wichita.
No. 620 is
Yes.
southern Kansas. We go up
Except
to the next
for-
one,
Yeah.
Beards, and you said it would be, of
816,
course, the
of course,
816 is the
obviously.
area code that is Kansas City, Missouri. If you
Yeah.
think about the KC Mill, the area code is 816. And so this one, of course, is the area code that ends in 16. It's 316, which is Wichita.
Yes.
My dad has a 316 number, still does.
I've got a little map here of what area, like the regions that the area codes cover. 75 covers, and basically
It's like
785 is
northern
the
Kansas.
It's like
entire
northern
north.
Kansas.
620
is
is the
like
bottom.
northern, southern Kansas. And you got Wichita, and you've
And
got
Kansas City.
But Josh,
This is every area code in the state of Kansas. And nothing on the Missouri side, including 816.
Now I gotta see what's on the Cardinals hat.
What are we? You're going to have a hard time, Rudy. You're going to have a hard time. Because it's not on newera.com anymore.
I saw that they
These are all so bad that they were up for a few hours. The internet got a hold of them, and in
they sold out
one
so fast.
day, New Era
Everybody wanted them.
took their tail and put it right up between their own legs and just shuffled away as all of these were thrown into whatever furnace they use to burn things at New Era to fuel their machines.
Do you mean they didn't sell out? Is that what you're trying to tell me here?
I don't like the Kansas versus Missouri, KCK versus KC Mo drama.
Mm-hmm.
I find it petty and a bit silly.
Yeah, you're petty.
I'm petty, and I think this is petty. I lived on the Kansas side my entire life. I've had jobs on the Missouri side. Now I live on the Missouri side, have jobs on the Kansas side, right? Like I've been on both sides of the state line. And someone on Twitter pointed this out when we were having this conversation last time because people were bullying Kyle Long for saying he had a great day in Kansas. When he did, he was right. He was in like Overland Park or something. But
It's a beautiful place.
it's a lovely place.
I live in Overland Park.
Good food.
Beautiful.
I don't like that stuff. Someone on Twitter pointed out that there are some like important socioeconomic and historical differences between Kansas and Missouri and the separation of the state line. And you're right, but I don't care for just this one bit.
Yeah.
Both sides of Kansas City have great things. Both sides of the state. Both states have great things. Also, both sides have not so great things. I'd rather drive in the winter on the Kansas side, but all the good stuff to do is on the Missouri side. I get it.
You ever been to Topeka?
Yeah.
Clearly never spent that much time in Topeka.
I've been to Topeka, and
I was born in Topeka.
it's not where I want to hang out,
You're missing out.
but I respect it.
Doesn't sound like it.
There are also plenty of places in Missouri that I haven't spent a lot of time and probably won't. It's
Don't
all
go to
fine.
St. Louis.
It's all fine. Can
Bad
I tell you
pizza.
this? I've been to St. Louis like 2 or 3 times.
Pizza's bad.
You know what it was? Every time I was there, fine, pretty good. I didn't get their weird pizza,
Yeah, don't get it.
nor did I get their barbecue.
Don't get that either.
I have some respect for myself.
St. Louis only has 314 on there.
The A16 not represented on the hats at all. What happened is if you
No.
Google Kansas City area codes, it just pulls up Kansas area codes, and some intern at New Era just got fired today.
Yeah, and so apparently, like, somebody tweeted, like, again, this same issue, like, they didn't even put 636 on the Cardinals hat. How dare they cancel St. Charles, which I think is like the Overland Park-ish area of St. Louis.
They're all so, I don't know how any of this happened. Because it's both, like, doing too much and so lazy. And if they would just, listen, hey, any corporation, send a copy, send a, I've lost the word for like a prototype. Send a prototype of literally any of your sort of Kansas City adjacent properties. Send them to Union Broadcasting. You can Google our logo or Google our address.
Could Google the logo.
That's also true. CO Joshua Brisco. Okay? Go ahead and send your Kansas City adjacent merch to the station. Put my name on it. Take care of Almost Entirely Sports if you want. That would, I'm sure, confuse some people. And we will look at it and go, are you missing something here? Have you just you can FaceTime me. Anyone in marketing at New Era, call someone who lives in Kansas City and just go, hey guys, what do you think of this? I would say I think this is an irredeemable design, but at the very least we can get you the right area codes. It's just such an exercise in corporate buffoonery.
Question.
Answer.
How many digits did the Dodgers have on their hats?
27, I believe. I think Atlanta may have surpassed that.
Do you know how many digits the Angels have?
No.
3. 1 area code. The Dodgers apparently got all but 1 area code.
I mean, I guess that's probably Anaheim, I guess.
I found if you go to the big league, they've got like they have all of them, like images of all of them. Arizona may have had the best. Looking at them, that's a low bar.
What can people Google to see all of that? Give me the headline.
The big lead. The headline is. Let me go back to the top. It's a lot of tweets embedded, so the page takes a little bit to load. Also, I have a bunch of streams up. But the headline is, here are MLB's local market hats in all their glory. The big lead, Liam McKeown.
Got it. That's close enough. People can get there. There appears to be a
Why
lobster
is
roll
there
in the
a
back of Boston's.
shamrock on the White Sox? Like there's a Celtics logo on the White Sox hat.
I don't know. You're right. This page is going to load very slowly. I would like for someone to have.
Yes.
I would love to be able to scroll through newera.com and look at all these, but
Also, we forgot. Apparently, there are no area codes in Pittsburgh.
Why? What'd they do?
Pittsburgh has no area codes
There's
on their
just not
hat.
one?
There's not an area code. There's just nothing there on that side. You know, the side that has all the area codes.
So it's the best
just
hat?
empty. Well, it's got what is what
Oh
looks
my
like an I.
goodness!
It looks like the letter I, but it's obviously a steel beam. But it just kind of looks like an I.
the Cincinnati Reds on the back, there is a bowl that has some sort of detritus in it. On the bowl is a chili pepper.
Skyline chili.
It's not that kind of chili, though.
No,
It's got spaghetti in it.
it's bad.
And that's fine if
also
it's bad.
But yes,
But you got it wrong.
It's not a chili pepper.
They're not good hats.
Why did they pick the 2012 World Series for the Giants?
Because they
They had to pick one.
didn't want to hurt the Royals' feelings.
Is
That's
this
their correct answer because they too feel that the Royals were robbed.
the Rangers hat has
Joe
a
Buck.
hat on it? It's got a cowboy hat right next to the T.
Have you seen the Royals updating their Twitter account bio though?
Yes.
You want me to read that? I've got. it
I would
pulled up.
love that. Yes, please. Yes, please.
The
yes.
Royals have updated their bio. It says, located in Kansas City, Missouri. We love Kansas area codes, saxophones, the flag of Kansas City, pigs, Missouri, and the 1985 World Series. Hashtag Heart of America.
The Rays have
What are we doing?
area code 813 on their hat.
We're bashing New Era. That's what we're doing.
And they don't play in the 813.
Yeah, they didn't even put the area code of the actual place where the stadium is, I imagine.
Yeah.
Good bleep, guys. Someone tweeted out the Mariners hat and simply just said, if Macklemore were a hat.
Which is pretty good.
And they're just all so bad. And like I remember, well, I can't remember where I got it from, but I was young enough that this hat is nowhere near fitting my head anymore, but I still have it. It was a like Cooperstown collection of a hat. And the front of it was like a Cooperstown like logo or whatever. And then there were a bunch of throwback logos of like original teams that were all over it, but they were like organized. And like I think it may have been arranged by division. And it was a very busy hat. It's probably a little, to use a word we learned last week, a little chuggy. But at least an effort was made.
Yeah. This Padres one by Matt Piscatella. Just his comments on it. The Padres icon hat doesn't have a fish taco, flip flops, carne asada fries, or a car with Massachusetts plates on it. Is it really a San Diego hat?
That's very good. It's all just so outrageously. Beards, did you put a picture of it on the stream at any point?
No, I have
That
not.
would have been a good idea for either of us
the
who would have 15 minutes ago. That's fine,
Palm
I'll worry about it.
trees. I do love going to Oakland to see the palm trees.
The Oakland one has palm trees?
The Oakland one
I
is
guess,
palm
I mean, there are
trees.
palm trees, but it just...
I go to Oakland for the palm trees.
The craziest thing is that now, I mean, there is a Kansas City sports team hat that is worse than the Chiefs draft hat, the aforementioned one from a couple years ago. What are you giggling at?
The Washington Nationals one.
What
It
is it? What is
has a little logo next to on the front, circle of stars, 1776 in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm Googling this just to make sure, but the tweet is, I have some news about Washington, D.C. in 1776, and it's the fact that it did not become a thing until 1790. America.
Somebody proposed this entire line,
Yep.
and they got made, and they
Yep.
got rolled out.
Mm-hmm.
And look at them. And now they're gone.
I do like this also.
What?
Another Angels one where Orange County, where every day is Taco Tuesday.
Just really terrible work. Just outrageous. You know what they should do? You know what they should do?
You know what they're probably gonna do?
I think
try and fix them and then resell them.
Yeah, probably. I think the Diamondbacks do have the best
I think you're
of
right.
them.
You know what they should do,
They're
though?
actually, I mean, the numbers are bad, but it's at least, like, it's got the cactus. Like, it at least kind of works, except for, like, the numbers are really bad.
You guys know what they should do?
Give them out first 20,000 fans at every game until they run out.
They should actually, New Era should connect with like actual local artists in these 30 cities, or I guess the 30 teams, because there's some duplicates. But I think it's 27. Because the Angels
two in
are
Chicago, L.A., New York.
I'm not counting LA really.
But there are 2 there.
Yeah, but they're separated by like a decent distance, right?
Anna, I mean, maybe.
All right, now we're going from describing hats to Googling.
Is it? I guess I just always assumed Anaheim was essentially a suburb of Los Angeles.
But you have to think about like California. My friend from California was in town over the weekend, and at one point he was talking about places he had been and lived and everything.
Big.
And it was all in California, but they were all like 6 hours apart.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, I've never been, so like I have no like real.
They play.
Yeah, I mean Anaheim is, and again, like it looks like it's a little bit of a distance from like the center of Los Angeles, but it is a suburb of Los Angeles.
It's a 40-minute drive. I just Googled Angel Stadium, the Dodger Stadium. It's a 40-minute drive without traffic.
Yeah, but like that's the.
But they play in Anaheim, though.
But it's the suburb of LA.
But for the point of the thing that I'm suggesting,
I'm just
to
saying,
be
if you
incredibly
say
pedantic,
LA has 2 cities in it, I think that because they're the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, like.
it's in Anaheim though. Like if you're
Los
gonna
Angeles.
for my analogy, you're getting artists at different like regions and everything.
Yeah, I mean you definitely
They're closer
go for,
to Santa Monica than they are. Or no, excuse me, the Dodgers are closer to Santa Monica.
You're
They're
definitely
closer to
going
Long
for-
Beach. Like
Yeah, you're definitely going for more of a southern LA. Like I imagine southern LA and North LA are very different cultural, areas. Like you're definitely going more of a southern LA artist. Just like with the Mets and Yankees, like there's the people who root for those teams. Those are different type of people.
do you know what the White Sox Stadium is? While we sink into this,
It's on the south side. It's
you know what it's called?
No.
Is it oh man, I've been there. It's changed.
Guaranteed Rate Field.
Yeah,
Because it's a big downward arrow right now.
they're one that's changed a bunch over the last, I think, like 20 years.
I ended up searching for Wrigley Field, Lawrence, Kansas, which is very much not
no,
what I don't know. It just sort of filled in.
I mean,
Those
they're kind
two-
of close. I guess.
Wrigley and Guaranteed Rate Field are 20 minutes apart, and
So,
they're
like-
right there on the water. And they're both in Chicago.
So here's the thing, though,
It's just
like-
north side, south side.
So here's the thing, and again, this kind of plays to the LA thing, where I've been to both of those stadiums. It is a very different feel around the stadiums. Like it is a very the neighborhoods are drastically different. Like you feel like even though it is they're obviously it's Chicago, it is 2 different. It almost feels like 2 different cities within Chicago, which is my thing. Anaheim is in LA, but it's 2 different places to that degree, like 2 different cultural.
well, but
places.
Anaheim is Anaheim, and Chicago is Chicago.
Except Anaheim is part of LA. It's metro area. Be like saying if the Royals were in Overland Park and you were like.
But Overland Park is
But
Overland
it's
Park.
yes,
though. What does
but
your
but it
mail
is
say?
But it is a suburb.
What does your mail- what does
it
the
is a-
mail
it is
say?
It is the Kansas City metro area, though. The Kansas City metro area is Overland Park. The Los Angeles metro area is Anaheim.
This might be the worst radio conversation we've ever
Probably.
had.
Probably.
They should get to artists from the area around the team.
Yes.
And have local artists actually come up with something for the that if you want to do a non-lazy version of like a city edition quote unquote hat, that's how you do it. The issue is they wanted to do a cheap lazy version where they could do it in cookie cutter form and just slap on a bunch of logos and patches and numbers that aren't exactly right.
I know a great artist in Kentucky who would be great for the Royals.
I wish Rudy was in a different area code.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
Make some.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
I have a pineapple on my hat today. Have you seen that? Hold on. You see that, Beards? I can't see you not because I'm facing away from you.
Yes.
With Joshua Brisco.
It's a very small pineapple.
I have a small pineapple, a very small pineapple.
I was expecting bigger.
Sizes and everything.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
First things first from the Twitch, Human Torch, thanks for resubbing with the channel on the channel. He says, 4 months. How time has passed. I think that's just a very functional way of saying that.
It has passed.
Dillard on Twitch said, someone's going to try and possess all of the hats. If I could get a 30-pack of those and just get them all in a 7 7/8, I would pay a sort of a, lump sum amount of money for those. Sure. I'm not paying retail for all of them, and I'm probably not going to even get. I'd be pretty tempted at this point on the Royals one if it hadn't been taken down already because of the memes at this point. Pretty much, like I'd be interested in that.
I got a $2 bill. I'll give them. Straight up, $2 bill.
There was one other thing that I wanted to read from Twitch that I think I lost, but maybe that was.
I could see you wearing
the gist of it.
The Diamondbacks one.
It's got a cactus on the front, right?
Yeah.
Wearing a cactus shirt right now. In preparation for Suns Lakers. Game 2 of that starts here in about 30 minutes, so that'll be worth keeping an eye on. We'll have Seth Keysor in about 30 minutes as well. What was that reading?
I'm excited
to watch
Suns.
LeBron's career end the hands of DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, the one hand of Chris Paul.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily going to end, but it's going to take a huge blow.
Also, last night, we teased that we would probably talk about Aaron Rodgers sound from last night. Right now, looking like we're probably going to have a show tomorrow night, and I'll say this. If we do, a couple good guests lined up tomorrow. I'm not going to give you any more details. Don't you guys go giving any more details, because I'm not 100% sure about anything I just said, but I'm like 80% sure that there's going to be a show, and that that if there is a show, I'm like 80% sure we're going to have 2 very, very good guests tomorrow. Knock on wood.
I get fully vaccinated tomorrow.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Fully vaccinated man. My brain will start working again. No longer have that half-vaccinated brain.
I don't know how to tell this to you, Rudy, but I think your brain might be just sort of what it is at this point.
Nope, it'll be fully vaccinated. Be good to go.
Okay. But last night, though, got home, and I saw some tweets about how the refs were ruining a great game. And so I was like, all right, there's my siren song right there. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna step right through. I'm gonna check out a little bit of a ref show. At that point, the game had been like pretty well put away. The Blazers made a little bit of a push, but Rudy's Nuggets have gone even with the Trailblazers. Rudy, your thoughts about your Nuggets?
Feel good. I was thinking about this watching the game. I don't get scared when a player shoots a shot 20 feet behind the three-point line because I assume they're not going in.
Right.
And every time Dame does, I assume it's going in.
Yeah.
Like he might be the only player in the NBA. There are better players than him, right? There are better shooters than him. He is the only player in the NBA who it does not matter what shot he takes. It does not matter how many people are on him. I assume it's going in because it's terrifying.
He's the only one that rivals Steph Curry in terms of three-point shooting.
Yeah, I think those two guys exist on. I don't really care if you want to say that it is close or they're not close or whatever. But in my head at least, if you say quick, if you're doing a 3-team draft of guys who are deadly from at least strike fear into your heart from any range, it's Steph and it's Lillard, and I don't know who would be third. Beards, I'm guessing you'll probably come up with an answer for that. But those two guys are with a bullet, right?
I would say third's probably Durant. The height, he's got a beautiful jumper, being 6'11".
Yeah, but not at that range.
I just don't expect it. Like if I saw him pull up from 4 feet behind the line or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, all right, that's a shot. All things considered, if Kevin Durant's going to get a shot off, I would rather it be that than anything else.
No, for sure. I just mean that's probably, I would say probably the third.
If it's Lillard or Steph, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Beard, you don't have an answer for me?
I'm thinking.
You don't have a quick NBA thought for me?
Not for this.
And Lillard's not even necessarily the second best pure shooter in the NBA, right? Like if you're just talking about again just like pure shooting ability, but it's just, man, it's like the second it's in a game, it's just and somebody who's on him and near him, it's just like he just puts the fear in you, like he's just gonna hit everything.
Yeah.
And then until Aaron Gordon's on him, and then Aaron Gordon shuts him down, obviously.
But you've got it 1-1 now.
Yeah.
And if they win, we're gonna if the Nuggets can make this comeback, we're gonna get Suns Nuggets in the second round. That's pretty much locked in as far as I'm concerned. The rest of the Suns Lakers series is a formality in my mind.
I mean, it's what I'm hoping for. I don't think it ends well for the Nuggets. Something tells me that the Chris Paul, Devin Booker v. Facu, Austin Rivers matchup does not bode well for the Nuggets.
Beards, I mean, if you don't have that for me NBA-wise.
Great.
I don't know if there is another one.
Can you? I want to know who third place would be, like, gun to your head. Well, you know who it is? Actually, I think I have the answer. He's just not playing right now.
It's Seth Curry.
It's probably Clay, right? I mean,
not at that level of range. Maybe Luka.
The second best player from that year's draft? I don't know, man.
The thing with Luka is like he'll
Because
certainly
DeAndre Ayton is better.
he'll certainly shoot it. But I'm not necessarily afraid that he's going to make it.
This conversation has lost all of its juice, and I can feel the energy seeping through the cracks in the studio right now.
Because Beards just has nothing.
Now, Beards, I just expected an answer. I just expected you to be like,
I don't know if I have one.
I expected him to just be like, oh, yeah, you idiot. It's Facu. I just expected that.
Well, I mean, have you seen Facu play?
No.
Not really.
That's fair.
No,
La Liga legend.
I really
Facu
haven't.
Campazzo.
Beards, has anybody ever swept their way all the way to an NBA final?
Yes, the
Probably.
Lakers did it in 2001. They lost the first game to Allen Iverson when he had that 48-point game in the finals.
But you have this locked away somewhere.
I can't remember because there was that the Philadelphia 76ers in like the 80s. They lost one game, but I can't remember when it was that they lost it.
Well, anyway,
the Warriors and the Cavs did it. There was one year where they both swept their way to the finals, and then the Cavs got their butt stomped.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that happening.
Yeah, that was the first Durant year.
Well, with that being said, I do think that the Nets will probably get a game in the finals, but I think the Suns probably get the Larry O'Brien, put that LOB over their head with one loss, maybe two losses throughout the playoffs. Not more than two. They're not gonna have to. The Nets aren't gonna force 7. I mean, by the way, the Royals game is over.
It is.
Because it started at 6 and went blazing fast.
I think
Brad Keller was
6:10. So,
Pitching duels, baby.
2.5 hour game time.
Sorry, man. You said those numbers that way, and I just heard static.
6 o'clock
So,
in 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 after 6. Brad Keller was great. Adalberto Mondesi was back. 2 hits, I think, on the night. But we talked about this some with Max Reaper last night. The what is Brad Keller up and down roller coaster experience? The only way you're going to ever get to a point where you say Brad Keller is 100% back and the guy we want him to be and who he is and all that stuff, the only way that's going to get completely locked in is if you get several of these starts in a row. But I think this was, his third really strong consecutive start. I don't think he's strung 3 in a row so far this year. I think he had a couple good ones and ultimately ended up and down. Oh, and also, hold on. They're 500 in May, baby.
They are.
We asked that question
500.
a while ago, and we're not terribly optimistic. The Royals are 500. Tempted to go get a party popper out of the office and bring that down here.
And Daniel Lynch had a really good start in AAA tonight. So.
Oh, good. I hadn't
Daniel
seen
Lynch.
that.
Yep.
That's exciting. But
He needed a little bit of success. Sometimes I think as a pitcher, it's just good to see yourself get a guy out.
100%.
Especially when you didn't do that for like a month in the big leagues.
I'm guessing that you say it was in Omaha?
Yes.
I'm surprised. I'm just glad that he wasn't standing on the mound yelling, "Here comes a fastball" anymore, because that appears to be the main issue he was having here.
It makes it hard.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to pitch.
Can we get it? What's Omaha's main area code? Can we get that on the hat? What if we do the whole minor league farm system?
Maybe that's what they should have done.
Everything west of the Kansas-Missouri line.
Not including Missouri.
Like I said, everything west.
Right. From the line to the left.
To the
or
west.
as you would say, west.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it very sort of like
402.
That would also be the west.
I would also not hate. That might be kind of fun to do something sort of a farm system collection. You know, I don't think you just throw all of the logos on the hat. Some of them are just at a
I
90
don't know,
degree
man.
angle
New
for no
Era is
reason.
probably working on it right now.
It's the 402, baby.
They're going to put a zoo on there for Omaha.
I don't hate that.
Mondesi had 2 doubles, by the way.
Excellent.
They're going to put a palm tree for surprise because they love their palm trees.
In Omaha?
Yeah, that too.
I think you just put a zoo animal in front of some palm trees, and now all of a sudden you're basically Ed Hardy, and I think I'm buying it. So that's kind of alarming. Anyway.
Anywho.
Omaha.
Stupid. It's got Peyton Manning on the Omaha hat. We will we'll go ahead. You know what we'll do? We'll take our break now, and I'll take a closer look here at anything else you may want to know about the Royals game tonight. I'm guessing that we're going to hear from Adalberto Mondesi, but I'm also guessing that that's going to come after Seth Keysor joins us. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll let you know what we do whenever we come back.
At JB Brisco, at Beard. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
The first commandment of Almost Entirely Sports is, thou shalt abandon all pre-planned material in favor of the best possible radio show.
It's going to be a big tablet if this is the first one.
Well, we're going to edit it down later. The second commandment is, thou shalt respect the nonsense. The third commandment, I think, is, thou shalt talk Chiefs when there's any possible reason to.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll follow that last commitment here in about 10 minutes or so with Seth Keysor of the Chief of the North newsletter, The Athletic, Times Stars podcast. He wrote a wonderful story, and if you're going to try to read through it before he joins us, you've got to start soon. But he had a wonderful piece on the Chief of the North newsletter this morning. I was actually planning on asking him about this, and then the story showed up in my inbox, Substack. This one's also a freebie. You don't even have to be subscribed, even though it only costs you $12 a year to do that. But it's a great piece about Jamal Charles' case for the Hall of Fame. And I am going to say it is the definitive case for Jamal Charles as a Hall of Famer. We'll get way more into that here with Seth in about 10 minutes, but it's a great piece. You're going to check that out, and we'll talk to him about that. And also, I've got a hunch how he feels about Julio Jones. So we'll have a bunch of Chiefs stuff here with Seth here in just a little bit.
Always remember, running backs don't matter except for Jamal Charles. He mattered.
That's literally one of the...
I've heard Seth say it, I feel like.
Well, there was...
I feel like that's one of his mottos.
There was a tweet from an analytics account that's in the story that Seth put out. And I don't want to take his thunder here, but that's true. That's essentially it. Even kind of we've talked about running backs in this show so many times. And Jamal Charles ends up being an outlier in pretty much every way.
Yeah, every just like now and then you see those highlights pop up, right? Like just like whether, and sometimes it's because of Seth, and sometimes it's just it's this day in NFL history Jamal Charles did blank. It was just different watching him, man.
Another NBA game just went final. Also, Beards, Rudy's Nuggets are 1-1 even right now. My Suns tonight will go to 2-0 over the Lakers.
We hope.
It's going to happen. The Celtics are now down 2-0 to the Nets.
Jason Tatum has one eye currently.
White boy summer. Joe Harris.
Can he not just pick the middle rim? Because I've been told it's very easy to get poked in the eye and then pop up and just hit the middle rim. LeBron had his entire eye removed and then had a glass eye put back. It was by the optic nerve.
Jason Tatum. It is Jason. I got Jaylen Brown and I thought I said Jalen Tatum, and I was like, no, I said Jason. Jason Tatum's just obviously he's not LeBron. He's soft.
His eyelids are soft. His eyes are soft. LeBron, of course, greatest eyes of all time.
If LeBron had suffered the injury that Jaylen Brown had suffered, he'd been back by now.
I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have missed a play. Now, of course, they would have had to have added stoppage time for how long it would have taken for him to get back, but they would have done it. What did you guys were texting me this, and I missed it, I think. Was it Kristaps who got fined for something?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
What was it, Beards? What did Kristaps...
Let me find the official statement. Basically.
Okay, Rudy, what did Kristaps do?
Well, so that's the thing. I only know what Beard sent the message to. Beards, I just know I had the right response to the message.
A short summary would be nice.
Basically, he went to a party. He went to a party, and they fined him $50,000, and it was it didn't matter about the COVID vaccination status of him or people involved. I believe they were just like, nope, here's $50,000. Give us $50,000.
What was your line, Rudy?
Simply said, LeBron would never.
No, LeBron would get a $50,000 bonus for being an ambassador of the league.
Go to a party. He is too committed. He's zero dark 30. He's not on the social media. He's just too committed to the craft, too committed to the game right now. It's all about number 5.
What?
Yeah, how many titles? What's his,
I was
what
like,
titles
he's number
23.
Yeah, right?
But he's going for his
for 5.
Right? Yeah. It's all about number 5.
So here's the Shams tweet. Dallas Mavericks Kristaps Porzingis has been fined $50,000 for violating the rule prohibiting players from going into bar, club, lounge, or similar establishments regardless of vaccination status, sources tell The Athletic. Porzingis attended the club on Sunday.
Are you drunk? You were slurring a couple words in there that made me nervous for you.
Well, he was with Kristaps.
I was running out of breath there at the end.
Much like LeBron when he plays the Phoenix Suns. Do you guys want an optimistic take or a pessimistic take on the Royals really quick? Because we're not going to have a lot of time to talk Royals. We're going to Seth soon. But
Carlos Santana hit his 250th career home run.
Both at the same time is how this show has gone largely today. We got to watch the crosstalk, guys. We got to be a little more courteous.
Mm-hmm.
Here's I guess I will try to. You know what? I'll try to do it at the same time. The Royals are 500 again. If you would have told me at the beginning of the month, or I guess not at the beginning, if you would have told me on May 13th that they'd be 500 on May 25th, I would have been floored. Though if you would have told me on May 1st that they were going to be 4 games under 500 by May 13th, I would have also been pretty bummed. The crazy thing about where the Royals stand right now is that they had a nice hot start to the year, an apocalypse in the middle, and have also now really stabilized again. The optimist's view is to say that, hey, 2/3 of these stretches, and this one's a much shorter stretch than the others, but
For sure.
these sort of 3 chapters of this Royals season, one of them's been awful, just as bad as it gets, and the other 2 have been, like, playoff contenders in terms of results, if not in terms of the eye test or whatever. The pessimist's view is holy bleep. If they would have just gone a little under 500 for that 11-game stretch, if they would have won 4 of those games, we would be talking about them so differently right now.
We were looking at it. I remember saying when they were at 10 losses in a row, or it was just after 11 losses in a row, but I looked at it prior to that loss where they had lost their previous 10. And if they had just in that stretch been as bad as the next worst team in that 10-game stretch, they would have went 3-7. And instead of being below 500 at that time and like six or 7 games behind the White Sox, now all of a sudden they're 3 games above 500 and they're about a game behind them. If the Royals had just gone 3-8 during that 11-game losing streak, this division looks a lot closer. I mean, drastically, it looks, and it may not, like 3 wins may not seem like a lot, but right now it is a lot. It looks drastically different.
3 wins are about the difference between being Kansas City right now and being Cleveland right now.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland is a game and a half back of the White Sox, who are currently beating the Cardinals. Let's say they win that game. So they end up being, actually, I don't know what Cleveland's doing tonight, but let's say they end up being, 2 games back of the White Sox. Cleveland's about to beat Detroit. Actually, the Tigers might tie this thing up. Anyway, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. Kind of fun.
If the Royals had won just 3 games, they'd be 26-20, which is what the Indians look like they're going to be.
That's exactly right. Which is 1 game back of the White Sox. It will be 2 whenever they win now. Now, look, the Royals went very quickly from being laughed to the bottom of the division with Detroit and Minnesota to now being very clearly the middle class of the division.
Mm-hmm.
And look, if they play like this and have these results and their starting pitching evens out, and they're doing it without Duffy, but now Mondesi is back, and we're waiting for more news on Duffy and all of that. There is Bobby Witt Jr., baby. There is a world in which they're around the All-Star break and they get to at least play as competitors. And we'll see what happens once they get there. It's not like they're going to have they shouldn't be buying rentals, but they also probably aren't moving a ton of pieces. Around the All-Star break, maybe they're still in contention, and this team is fun to watch play for a little while longer. That'd be fine by me. Obviously, tonight and the return of Adalberto Mondesi, a good start to that. Seth Keysor is next.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City.
Now it is time for very serious football talk with the man who hates money almost as much as he hates the idea of a healthy sleep schedule.
You will find Seth Keysor everywhere except for in his or your bed, because not only does he not sleep, he's also a faithful husband. So that's important.
The man who has so many children, his wife figured he wouldn't even notice if she bought a few chickens and ducks for the backyard.
We should have an episode where we just have my children appear on the show in ascending order. So we'll do like a minute of Lucas, then 2 minutes of Isabel, then 3 minutes of... Man, I have a lot of kids.
The man who does all of this while being a lawyer in a state that has snow all 12 months of the year.
Until it freezes, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I actually felt very at home driving through southern Iowa. It was snow everywhere, and people were slowing down to like 40. It was adorable. I was driving slowly, but I literally was hanging my head out the window screaming, and that was disconcerting.
It's Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, and the Times Hours podcast on Almost Entirely Sports.
Another Tuesday with Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, the Times Hours podcast, on Twitter at RealMNChiefsFan, doing stuff weekly with Ryan Tracy at a time that may or may not occasionally clash with Almost Entirely Sports. Therefore, I'm not going to give you any more specifics than that. If you really want to know that bad, you can find that out. Seth, how are you doing on this beautiful, wonderful Tuesday? I don't know that it's beautiful in Minnesota. I'm just assuming that it is.
You know what? It has been very, very beautiful the last few days. We got a few more clouds out today, but I'll take it. It's everything's finally green, and life is good. Green is good. I love it. So our property, you know, we're kind of in the middle of just like a tiny little woods, and the difference it makes when everything's green is amazing. So life is good.
So this is not at all where I expected to start. When has that ever happened? It rained here pretty much for like an entire week off and on. And it wasn't a torrential downpour, but it was one very specific thing, which was too wet to mow any of those days for like a good week and change. And I had gotten to a point where right before the week of rain, it was like on that last day of, boy, I really probably should have mowed by now. But like, if I do it tomorrow, no one's gonna like think less of me as a neighbor, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it rained for a week.
Yep.
And
that's how that goes.
We got some of those, like, you know, those really thin, they look almost like a wheat stalk, but but they're grass sized.
And they're green.
Right? Some of those were legitimately like a full foot off the ground. And I did mow through, and our front yard is a mess because we had a pipe that had to get dug up like 6 months ago or whatever. I made a muddy nightmare of myself and of my just little soldier of a lawnmower that just kept on just putting along. And I did solve that, but what is your mowing situation now that you are on more land? And also, what is your mowing philosophy? Is your mowing situation a child?
My mowing situation is that I have 2 teenagers.
Okay, you see, I thought there was a chance that you might spit back at me and say, I would never. I love mowing. It's my favorite hour of the week or whatever. I
enjoy mowing. At our old house, everything basically was grass. And so it was about 4 acres of just grass, and so it took 3 or 4 hours to mow. Whereas where we're currently at, we really could use a riding lawnmower, and I'm looking at them, but man, that's pretty pricey.
Dude, but hold on. So I'm sorry to interrupt right away here, but one of my fondest childhood memories, now that you have said this phrase, is briefly being allowed to use the riding lawnmower at my grandparents' house.
I know, and it's so awesome. And so I'm looking into it. I really want to get one this summer, but my wife also kind of wants like an expedition, and that I don't know if you've looked at the prices of expeditions lately.
Yeah.
And so either I'm going to sell a kidney or I'm going to have to pick something.
Or just sell a kid. Three letters too many on that one.
Oh, yeah. Did I say kidney? Yeah, sorry. But I really enjoy it. But right now we've got 2 push mowers and 2 teenagers. So they do a pretty good job of it. And a lot of our area is kind of foresty, except the trails through the forests, which is fun. And those stay down because we just ride the 4-wheeler through it. And so I make my house sound like a resort, and I kind of like it. It's a lot of fun though. Mowing I enjoy it on the riding mower. I like being outside and stuff. So I really want to get a new riding lawnmower at some point soon here.
I'm on Home Depot's website right now. Like, can you give me a loose idea of just like how much a riding lawnmower costs? Because this has never been an issue in my life. Like, I'm looking at maybe around $2,000 or something like that, kind of in that ballpark.
Yeah, you can get a riding lawnmower for $2,000. It's like anything else.
That is tough, man. That is more than I would want to spend on a grass cutter, but also it's got to feel so good to have a riding lawnmower.
And that's the thing, is you can find cheaper ones, but one of the problem is that what you pay for is what you get usually. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to get a used one, you want to be a little more handy than I am. And so, I mean, you can get a riding lawnmower from anything from $1,500 to $5,000 or more. It just depends on what you're looking for. But I mean, there's some good tractors out there. I just really like zero turns. I don't know if you've ever fiddled around on one of those.
No, I don't even know what that is.
So it's just a riding lawnmower, but instead of like having like the John Deere, steering wheel type thing, you've got 2 handles. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen people doing it. And those turn so well, and they're a little faster, and they're a blast. And so I kind of want one of those again, but we don't really have enough mowable yard to justify the extra money.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited about mowing. I love that everything turns green. With Minnesota, that's the deal. It's 6 months out of the year. It is gorgeous. Well, hold on. Let me think. Yeah, for about 6 months out of the year.
So I'm still on Home Depot's website, not a sponsor. And I just decided to go to zero-turn mowers and sort by most expensive just for kicks. And there is a DeWalt X554 commercial, 54-inch, 26 horsepower, Kawasaki V-twin, blah, 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 stand-on dual hydro gas zero-turn lawnmower for $10,000, $9,500 to be precise. But if you hover over it, the in-action picture is a dude by a house in the suburbs mowing over grass that is already plenty mowed. Like, it has clearly been mowed before, and the photo shoot that they have to bring around for this here is absolutely hilarious. It looks like a man who looks a lot like Doug Peterson on a $10,000 lawnmower outside in his totally average size front lawn that was clearly already manicured very well before this photo shoot. So you probably don't need this one.
Yeah, but Lord knows you need a $10,000 mower to get that bad boy. That does crack me up. You can get a reasonable. I'm seeing a nice little Husqvarna here for $1,200. You'll be all right. 42-inch deck. You got this. So I think you could do that. All you need to do is just start one more job, Josh. I don't think you have enough of those.
Part of me wants this for a lawn that I can currently mow with just a push mower in about an hour. About an hour and a half. I wouldn't say it would not save me time, by the way, either. Like it would be virtually a wash, except for I could be sitting down while I'm doing it. So yeah, something I'll keep in mind. You know what I would need to do though, Seth, if I was going to make a purchase like that. Perhaps you're going to be in a similar place. You know what I'd have to do? You'd have to do.
What would you have to do, Josh?
We might have to shuffle around our salary cap a little bit to get the thing that we really want. And that's something, that seems to be very in vogue these days. I want to ask you, of course, about Julio Jones. We have seen him be perhaps set up on live television by, theoretically, a good friend. I don't know. Maybe he knew he was on. Maybe he didn't. I'd argue that Skip Bayless has been on TV without meaning to for a decade now. So, that stuff happens on FS1. So Julio Jones, he wants out of Atlanta. That kind of makes the story make a little more sense than just the Falcons kind of not really doing a rebuild, but also wanted to trade Julio. That didn't connect for me. But now it sounds like Julio Jones wants out of Atlanta. What have you made of the most sort of general, like, Chiefs Twitter, Chiefs Facebook fan reaction to the idea, the mere discussion of what if the Chiefs took a crack at it?
One thing is that people really do love homegrown players and salary cap space. Mm-hmm. And look, I get it. The Chiefs, as things stand right now, have $7-8 million in cap room. So I get it. I think a lot of people don't realize how excellent Julio Jones was last year, and how excellent he has been for years and years and years. So those are two things. And then the third thing is, I think the average person talking about contracts, they don't understand that the difference between cap hits for a team that originally signed a player and paid the bonus versus a team that takes on a contract like in a trade.
Yeah.
Or when they claim someone, like that, the trade especially. Because a lot of people think that like Julio Jones would cost them, $20-21 million a year. But he wouldn't, because the way it works is, bonuses get paid up front and then their cap hits on the back end. When a team trades a player, they don't trade that entire cap hit with them. That's what dead money is, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like Julio Jones, first things first, and this isn't like it's a tiny amount of money, but from what I can tell, Julio Jones would have like a $15-16 million cap hit this year, 10-11 the next couple years.
Yep.
So it's not like he's out here, like, because people see his contract's like $20 million a year. Yes, but that includes the bonus money. Mm-hmm. So those are the three quickest takeaways. Another one would be people don't like fun enough. Because, look, I get it. We've kind of reached about the limit of sure, why not? With what the Chiefs can do with the salary cap. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But why not? I just can't get past the idea. You know me, I tend to think, in about 2-year spurts in the NFL. Because I think thinking beyond that is getting ahead of yourself. Mm-hmm. I think a lot changes in 2 years. Let's take Clark, for example. Okay? He kind of had a struggle of a 2020 season, and he went from a guy that most Chiefs fans universally loved and thought of as a huge part of the team to a guy that people are constantly, at least in my Twitter mentions, not that that's a strong demographic for like what everyone's saying, but like talking about, wow, do you think they could move on from Clark? That's how quickly things change in the NFL.
I remember talking about that when we were talking about the Chiefs signing Frank Clark. I remember specifically talking about Justin Houston and Tamba Hali whenever the Chiefs traded for Frank Clark, and all I could remember was hearing people go, it's not going to happen here. That doesn't happen every time. And it does. It always happens.
Yeah, it happens very frequently. And things change so much year by year in the NFL in terms of injury status, all sorts of stuff. And so I tend to, like when people say, well, you got to pay the piper one day, I tend to say, yeah, but not today. Mm-hmm. And because in real life, that's terrible advice, right?
Yeah, right.
In the
true.
NFL, the worst thing that can happen to you is that you end up in cap hell for a year.
Yeah.
Because sure, you might end up in cap hell for a year, and you might have to cut some players, and you'll have a ton of dead money anyway. But really, it's going to last about a year. Mm-hmm. And then the next year, you'll have cleared up a bunch of dead money, and you can kind of start to reset.
Yeah.
And that's your worst case scenario. So if you can kick the can down the road for 8 years and then pay the piper 1 year, maybe 2, I don't see how that's any different functionally from tanking. You throw away a year or two to have a really good 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
So for me, I would go for it. I mean, you're talking about Julio bleeping Jones for a second round pick. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh, I don't know about that. And I get it that the main thing is salary cap stuff right now. like technically they don't have enough room under the cap right this second. But they're a Matthew extension, depending on how that goes. Look, I understand he tweeted something. Remember when Chris Jones was tweeting things? It's going to be okay, guys. We'll see. They'll get it done or they won't. But you can get that done. You can create the room for Jones for this year, and then you're basically trying to survive 2022 with the exact roster you've got and churning some guys, and then 2023 you see the big cap explosion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That would be the goal there. And I get why that seems irresponsible to people. On the other hand, Julio Jones, at least how he played last year, is a plus version of what they thought Sammy Watkins could be and what he occasionally was when healthy. And what I would urge Chiefs fans to do is go back and watch the few games when the Chiefs were at full power and Sammy Watkins was fully healthy. And that really doesn't include, I think, any of 2020.
Yeah.
He had lost a step at that point, in my opinion. I hope he goes on and is healthy in Baltimore, does great except when they play the Chiefs. Watch it, because it made their offense impossible. Like, absolutely impossible. I want you to think about the Super Bowl last year, and I don't think it would have changed things that much because the offensive line stuff was just a problem. But do you really see the Buccaneers defensive backs trying to body up on Julio the way that they tried to and did on McCole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson? That's an entirely different team to play.
Yeah.
And so the question I have is, does this actually move the needle in a very real way to make the Super Bowl more likely for Kansas City this year and next year? And I think it does.
A question that I asked on Twitter, and to be honest, is a bit of a spoiler. I didn't really, at least in my judgment, get an answer that I was terribly pleased with, was that if you, not literal you, the royal you, if you were happy with the Frank Clark trade as it happened, or even the Orlando Brown Jr. trade, and maybe in some ways the Tyrann Mathieu free agency signing, or basically any of sort of the splashy moves the Chiefs have made to fill holes on their roster with veterans, if you liked all of those and don't like the idea of the Chiefs trading for Julio Jones, I just am like very intrigued by where that logic would change for someone.
Right.
And our friend Jordan Foote, I cited him on this topic last night also. He said, well, I think what it is for most people is that eventually you can't do that all the time for everybody.
Right.
The funny thing to me there is I think that if that is true, and that's certainly true in some extreme, is it true right now? I don't necessarily think so. But if you're going off that logic, I think what you should be saying is offering a tremendously microscopic sort of critique to every other big move that you make, because it's not just that move in a vacuum. Like the Frank Clark move does change not just the Chiefs' edge position for 3 or 4 years with the draft picks and the money and all of that, and then obviously his play, but it also means maybe it's harder to rebuild a position group. Or even, the other guy I mentioned was the Joe Thuney signing. And I mentioned Orlando Brown also as something that, like, that's a move that I like, that I think makes sense, that they essentially had to make, really not necessarily of their own fault. Like, it was bad injury luck, and so they had to fix the tackle position.
Right, well, and they wanted to do it in a more sure way, for sure.
Absolutely, and not gamble on health returning and everything. I said whenever the Joe Thuney signing happened that I was a bit lukewarm on it, largely because I look at all that money for a guard, and I go, I don't know, man, is that the best use of your money? So for me, I'm looking at that and going, well, if they weren't worried about Joe Thuney's money kicking in, or they had a draft pick playing one of these positions that maybe Frank Clark cost you or whatever, or even somewhere on the Orlando Brown trade, would they be able to make that move for Julio Jones? Or would they be more likely to? Would we be talking about that differently? I don't really know any of those things definitively. I'm just kind of talking through it to see if you have any thoughts on that sort of understanding, and if you think that there's any water to be held there.
I think there is, and I think it's a good way of phrasing it is, you and I joke around saying the salary cap isn't real. And that's actually become kind of a hot button issue in terms, like, people get kind of fired up about that these days.
It's kind of, by the way, whenever you say it like that, it's kind of a weird thing to get fired up about. Because, like, I can also get fired up about the NFL salary cap, but I'm not really proud of it, you know?
Yeah, it's like, that's probably not the best use of my time.
Yeah.
So here's what I would say. In terms of what Jordan said about there being like a limit, I think this is where the difference between our joking around the salary cap isn't real take, where it becomes real is the salary cap is wildly flexible in the event that you can really do most things that you really want to do virtually all the time. But there's a limit to that. And the Chiefs, with each big move, because they've made a bunch of moves, really, over the last 2 years. And this is something I keep meaning to write about. Like, Brett Veach has, in each offseason where he started off as the GM, has had a huge problem that seemed unsolvable, right? After the 2018 season, it was the defense. After the 2019 season, how are you going to keep around Jones and re-sign? How are you going to extend Mahomes? How are you going to, take care of Travis Kelce and Sammy Watkins? How are you going to keep the band together in the crazy year with the salary cap shrinking? And then this last year, holy crap, you lost 2 stalwart tackles, neither of whom you were expecting to lose this year. And the offensive line looks like a mess. How are you going to fix that? And in doing some of those things, Veach has, in some cases, taken the sure thing to fix this massive problem over the more unknown thing. So, like with Frank Clark, we could talk about whether long-term that's really worked out. I don't think he's healthy. I don't think he was healthy most of 2020. He just looks like a different player than he did in Seattle. And we'll see what 2021 holds. Let's say he returns to his 2018 level of play. Then we're right back into, that feels kind of worth it, But with Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu and Anthony Hitchens and Joe Thuney and Orlando Brown, and, they've made a number of aggressive moves that have made the salary cap, each time it gets a little bit tighter. That flexibility, that it's not infinite, because then it wouldn't be flexibility, it would be a void, I guess. I don't know how to refer to that. And so eventually you can only stretch the rubber band so far. And so I think, with the Orlando Brown move, they've gotten to that point to where it's like, man, you can maybe make one more big move, and that would require doing some things that maybe they don't want to do. But that would be where the critique is it comes as a whole. But I think you make a really good point that why would you critique this particular move as opposed to saying, maybe they would have been better off not paying a guard that much money, right? Now, I get why they paid a guard that much money, right? Sure. The interior has been problematic for years. They needed a guy that they trust. Okay, you are going to be the dude on the interior, and we are going to, you saw the plan, right, with Williams and with Brown, with Williams and Brown. Yeah. The plan with Thuney was we're going to be awesome on the left side.
Yep.
And so, hey, good on them. I get why they're doing it, and when you have Patrick Mahomes, that makes sense. But it does come at an opportunity cost eventually when you combine it with all these other things. So that's why it's kind of funny when people are like, well, haha, I told you the cap was real. It's like, well, yes, we're joking. Like, the thing that I would probably more criticize, and this is the one move, and I hate because everyone piles on this guy kind of undeservedly so, paying Anthony Hitchens $10.5 million this year is just as prohibitive.
Yep.
Right? And so it's kind of the combination of all of them. Eventually you reach a point where you can't. I would say Julio Jones is really special.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you can talk yourself into that with every one of these moves, right?
Right.
It's like, yeah, but Joe Thuney's so good, Orlando Brown, what a rare opportunity, to trade for a guy. Tyrann Mathieu, he's so unique, all this stuff. And so I think it's just the sum of everything. But I do agree with you that you made a really good point that critiquing this one as opposed to those ones doesn't make a ton of sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, somebody on Chiefs Facebook, just a random person, I don't remember who it was, I don't remember the name or anything, said he's Sammy Watkins 2.0. And I'm going to have to go buy a new monitor because I punched that one. Because it's just like, which also, by the way, the Sammy Watkins gamble wasn't dumb. It just didn't work. Like, I honestly could probably, I don't want to take a whole lot more of our time here tonight to do this, but like, I could probably mount a decent defense of of the Sammy Watkins signing. Certainly more than I would try to for Frank Clark, because that also cost you draft picks. I hate to keep bringing Frank Clark in because he's one of those guys also at this point with him and Hitchens. And then honestly, having Anthony Hitchens and having his contract restructured to still be on the team this year, and then also drafting Nick Bolton. You wonder, well, could that second-round pick have been somebody who could have added that weapon to the offense? Or what if they took T. Higgins instead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year? Like, obviously, I am now airing out every single thing that I think has been a misstep over 2.5 years or whatever that's produced 3 consecutive AFC Championship game appearances, 2 wins and a Super Bowl. But it's also why I think I do like kind of nitpicking at those things, because they have sort of non-binary consequences. Like, it's not just, oh, well, they won the Super Bowl, so therefore we can't critique them. Moves that don't work might keep you from making a move like bringing in Julio Jones that makes you just sort of a disgusting Super Bowl favorite.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting it's not a binary situation in terms of whether a move worked or didn't.
Absolutely.
People can talk to their blue in the face about Frank Clark not playing up to the contract and the draft picks, but do they win the Super Bowl without him? And everyone wants to, well, yeah, sure they do. You don't know that. All you know is what happened. And what happened is he was instrumental. And so, there was good with that. Now, that doesn't mean because they won the Super Bowl, every move they made was the correct move, right? Mm-hmm. But a player who was definitely instrumental in it, that moves the needle there. And that's where we got to stop thinking about moves as good or bad, just that alone. There's some good and some bad. And when you have moves that are a mix, like Sammy Watkins, like Frank Clark, and I'd say Frank Clark has had more of an impact in Kansas City, but he cost more.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. And so there's the touch and go there. And you ideally want your moves to be more like with Tyrann Mathieu, where it was basically a home run, right? Yep. Drafting Chris Jones or drafting Patrick Mahomes, extending him, or extending Tyreek Hill. These are the home runs. You want them all to be like that. They're not all going to be like that. And the idea with these big swings is for as many of them to be really good big swings as possible, or at worst, a mixed bag. And that's why it is worth talking about the mixed bag. And you and I have talked about it, and we've argued back and forth and joked around with it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he had a pretty good rookie season. But there's that whole idea of opportunity cost there. So you call that one maybe a mixed bag, right? Because maybe you could have gotten that exact same production somewhere else and grab someone else to where you didn't have to spend money on Jaron Reed or whatever, right? Sure. Mm-hmm. And so that's the whole idea there. And that's the point of some of this critiquing, is because it does limit you eventually. I will say this. I've been staring at the Chiefs cap calculator for a while.
Uh-huh.
And let me just tell you, they could, if they really wanted to, and they just said, you know what? Screw everything. Let's get just absurd and stupid. They could make room for Julio Jones. They could do it. Now, it is interesting. This is where it kind of comes into play where, Tyreek Hill gave that interview where he had mentioned that the Chiefs had approached him about restructuring and he decided not to, which I thought was I'm curious to this day why he would think that wasn't, because he said some version of, I think what's best for my family at this time. I thought that was weird.
It was very strange.
Because, and all due respect to him, I'm sure he listened to his agent and whatever, but it's just interesting because a restructure doesn't mean taking less money.
Right.
Because,
in many cases it means getting more money sooner.
Right.
Which is weird.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just converting to a signing bonus, essentially. Because the funny thing is, because if they restructured Tyreek Hill right now, and they restructured his entire, if you restructured everything to the max that you possibly can, they could save like $8-9 million against the cap just by that. And then you cut, say, Andrew Wiley, and boom, you've got your space.
Yep, and that's without touching Tyrann Mathieu's deal.
Yep, without touching Tyrann Mathieu's deal. And that's the other really obvious one, is extending Tyrann Mathieu, because you can make his deal relatively cheaper this year and next year, and then let it balloon up in 2023. So the numbers are there. They are there, but now you have, when you talk about flexibility, now you're at, I don't know, do you ever see, those bands that like people put around their knees?
Sure.
And stretch. You have now stretched that band as far as you're going to want to go before something terrible happens.
Right.
And me personally, I'm here for it. I mean, why not? I get it. There's always risk because, what if he gets hurt? What if he whatever? That's all a good point. Although, Watkins versus Jones, two very different things. Jones had a season-ending injury last year when he was playing at an elite level. And he's played the vast majority of games every year for the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's very different from the situation Watkins was in. So I don't understand why that would be Sammy Watkins 2.0. Just very different players at very different points in their career with very different production levels and a very different injury history. So you never know. But here's the thing, the upside for that, because you never know with anything, right? You never know how Orlando Brown will adjust to the Chiefs system.
Right.
But the upside of him at left tackle is unbelievable. And like you said, how did you phrase it? Like just stupid Super Bowl favorites or something like that?
Yeah, it would be insane.
And it would be disgusting. Like, I just want you to imagine you are a Broncos fan or a Raiders fan, or perhaps more relevantly, like a Ravens fan or a Browns fan or whoever, right?
Right.
A Bills fan. How would you react to the Chiefs grabbing Julio Jones? Would you say, "Oh, those idiots! Boy, did they screw themselves over 3 years from now?" Or would you go, "Are you bleeping kidding me?" Like it would be like it would just be despair.
Yes, 100%.
That's part of why I kind of want it to happen, just to watch the reaction. And so, we'll see. But I just, that's one great way to think of things. How would you view it if the other guy did it?
Yeah.
If the Broncos traded for Julio Jones, we'd be like, God dang it, another receiver?
Yep.
Or if the Raiders did, I would say, man, our defense already struggles with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's worth noting. And so if you got to wonder if it would really bother you if other teams did it. Doesn't that make you think about maybe why it might be good for the Chiefs to do it?
Yeah, I kind of like that exercise. One very last salary cap thing, and I want to give you proper time to wax eloquent about Jamal Charles, and also the unique thing about your piece that went up earlier today on the Chief of the North newsletter. But last thing, you've been looking at over the cap, so if you have it up, please avert your eyes, and if you already know the answer, then the guessing game won't be fun, I'll just say it. But do you know how much money the Chiefs would have in dead cap hit, how much dead money they would have this year if they cut Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, I can't even imagine what that number is. It's got to be like 50 million plus.
It is $100,606,905 if they cut Patrick Mahomes as a pre-June 1st cut. They probably shouldn't do that.
That's a poor move.
I've never seen anything like that on over the cap going.
Look at Chris Jones digits. After his restructure. Chris Jones is $60 million.
And that one I just glossed right over because there was a 9-digit number just below that.
That is crazy. Patrick Mahomes and his contract, by the way, the restructuring quote-unquote magic they did this year with his contract, they can do that every year.
Yeah.
For the next few years to save money. And again, people can say, oh, you're going to have to pay the piper eventually. Yeah, but why do you care so much about that? Like, seriously, maybe for all we know, Brett Veach and Clark Hunt and Patrick Mahomes have all, just sat down and said, okay, here's the deal. We're going to keep doing this and having your contract be stupidly cheap until 1 year. Let's pick 2026. We're going to pick that year. We're going to kind of suck because that year you're going to be $140 million cap hit. And we're just going to push through it. Yep. And every other year, we're going to keep making you somehow like a $15 million cap hit.
Wouldn't hurt my feelings any. It'd be a weird year, but wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit. And also, they would still have Patrick Mahomes. So
they could mystery IR him that year.
I would rather they didn't.
Oh, that would be so funny though. Like this 1 year he's going to cost us. We're going to push his cap hit to be 90% of the cap, and just anyway, this is all absurd, obviously, but it just there's money to be moved around with the cap explosion projected to occur. So 2022, from everything I'm hearing, we're probably going to get back up to 200, 205, which is a big jump, all things considered. And then the next year, 2023, they're hoping for 225, 230, 240, those big, and then several years in a row, those big leaps. That's what you're relying on with this sort of thing. And honestly, until COVID, that was a very reliable way of doing business. So I just say go for it, because how many opportunities do you get to do something genuinely historic?
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are historic players. Yeah. And the Chiefs have been blessed to have Patrick Mahomes and his career coincide with two historic guys. Like Travis Kelce, health permitting, is going to go down as one of the best to ever do it. Mm-hmm. Tyreek Hill's got a shot at that too. And they're overlapping with Mahomes. That doesn't happen for everyone, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
And they've got a chance to overlap that with someone like Julio Jones, even for a few years, and just set the league on fire. And I would love it. It would just be so much fun. And also, again, just picture the reactions. They can't keep getting away with this. And so that alone would make it worth it.
You've got what, like 6 minutes left, 7 minutes if we stretch it right now?
Yeah. I got 7 or 8 minutes.
All right, here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna take a break. Whenever we come back, Radio Tease, Seth Keysor does the thing he loves doing, which is talking about Jamal Charles. Next!
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, everyone. This is Matt Llewellyn for the 23rd Street Brewery. Thank you so much for supporting local restaurants, especially through this pandemic. And you know what? We're almost through it. At the 23rd Street Brewery, we have brought in a few more tables, but still ask that you wear a mask while walking around the restaurant just to be safe. Other than that, we're open 11:30 every single day. So come see us at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
Reed Buick GMC knows that you don't have all day to buy your next vehicle. Hi, this is Trevin Reed. That's why Reed Buick GMC is perfecting the 90-minute car buying process. You complete most of the process from your home or office. When you arrive, you can inspect your vehicle, complete your paperwork, and receive a thorough tutorial on all your vehicle's features. No back and forths, no headaches. Go to reedbuickgmc.com or call 816-436-6300 to get started. Reed Buick GMC is values driven.
Springtime has arrived. It's the time of year for golf, yard work, outside activities, and that honey-do list. Then your body reminds you that you're not 18 years old anymore. It's time to call Stretch Zone. Stretch Zone provides practitioner-assisted stretching, which helps decrease the pain and stiffness your body feels and improves your range of motion and flexibility. It literally has me feeling like a younger me. Stretch Zone is located in Lenexa, Overland Park, and now Prairie Village. StretchZone.com.
Sports Radio 810 WHB, the radio home of the National Football League.
The Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl.
The Major League Playoffs and the World Series.
Strike three call. The Los Angeles Dodgers have won the World Series.
The NBA Finals.
This historic 2020 NBA championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Sports Radio 810 WHB, the power of sports.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Brian Pringle with Victory Ford at the Legends in KCK. Victory Auto Group has joined a nationwide network of auto dealers looking to purchase inventory that collectively bid for your vehicle. Would you like to know what they are willing to pay for your car, whether you buy another or not? For your simple no-hassle quote, just text your name to 913-229-6384. You can also visit us at the Legends Auto Plaza on the southeast corner of 435 and Parallel, or online at victoryfordkc.com. Victory Ford, where our first price is better than their last.
Get your lawn and garden ready for summer with help from Menards. Create an attractive outdoor living space with Menards' great selection of landscape blocks. Whether it's flawless landscaping, a spacious patio, or a sturdy retaining wall, there's no limit to what you can create. Save on everything to update your home, including 11% off all landscape blocks. Good through May 31st. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Do we have anything to talk about this week? It is just, man, it's been a slow news weekend. It's Tuesday, therefore, it's Seth Keysor time. Beers, I need you to cut the music. Thank you. I was stalling until you would cut the music, and you just took so long, even after previously having a discussion about cutting the music. Seth, will you yell at Beards for me?
With Joshua Brisco.
Beards, I don't want to say you're a terrible person, but I'm not going to say you're not a terrible person. That's,
Thank you.
I'm 50-50. I'm on the fence. We'll see what happens with the music next time.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Second segment with Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, the Times Arts podcast, everywhere, every time, every place, every plane of existence on Twitter at RealMNChiefsFan. Seth, you had yet another beautiful, poetic conversation. I guess really just you were the one talking, and it's all written. So a weird choice of words by me. About Jamal Charles on the Chief in the North newsletter. You can go check it out at mnchiefsfan.substack.com. You were charging such an arm and a leg before at $12 per year that you decided to give this one away for free. Really good work by you. And you're making what I'm going to call the definitive argument for Jamal Charles being a Pro Football Hall of Famer. I will, if you want to talk for the entirety of the 6 minutes you have left here with us, I will push away from my microphone and let you talk.
Sure. So the thing with Jamal Charles, what I wanted to do is whenever you talk about Jamal Charles being a Hall of Fame, there's some knee-jerk reaction responses that you get from people.
Mm-hmm.
And before I even talk about why he belongs in the Hall, I thought it makes sense to deal with those. And because I'd seen some of the things about advanced numbers that have more recently become available to us that make him look so special, because he was. But you have to get your foot in the door first. It's kind of like proselytizing a little bit.
Everything is with you.
Everything is. You gotta be able to show people that you're not an idiot and that you understand some of the objections to even get your foot in the door. And so that's the first thing I wrote about, writing about Jamal Charles, who I don't mind. I mean, he is my favorite Chief of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk about that a little bit a little bit later here. People say a few things about Jamal Charles. They say, and so what I did is I went through those three arguments and I just noted how they're not dispositive, that they don't really mean he can't be in the Hall because they ignore the people who are already in the Hall, right? Because all you have to do is show that those arguments aren't the end-all, be-all. Then you can make your case. When you've shown, hey, that doesn't necessarily rule him out, then you get to make your case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is, Charles wasn't great for long enough to make the Hall of Fame. That's the most common one, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had 5 exceptional seasons as a pro, okay? One of which, it's just hilarious to me every time, he only played half the season.
Yeah.
I mean, he rushed for 1,100 yards, despite the fact that he barely played the first half of the season in 2009. He was averaging under 6 touches a game before the final 8 games. And then in 8 games, he ran for 968 yards. I mean, he didn't make the Pro Bowl that year largely because he didn't get to play all 16 games.
It's amazing that Todd Haley is hurting you in the year 2021.
It is, because I even wrote about this, how the first time I realized Charles was special was the very first game, the only game in 2008 where he had significant snaps was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he was obviously special. It was so easy to see. But anyway, so you got 5 seasons, and basically people say, well, that's not enough. There's a few things wrong with this. First, it punishes Charles for a couple things. Injury history, which is largely luck, and the fact that his coaches didn't play him for a year and a half. But here's something that I would note. You know who else had 5 or fewer seasons that were actually high level?
Tell me.
Earl Campbell.
Uh-huh.
Marcus Allen.
Him too.
Gale Flipping Sayers.
No kidding.
Terrell Davis.
Shouldn't be a Hall of Famer, but we'll get to that.
Larry Zonka.
That's a real name.
And those are so those are just a few of the names. If you really look, Earl Campbell, no one debates that he's one of the greatest runners in history.
Nobody. Never in a million years.
He only had 5 seasons where he rushed for over 1,000 yards.
Crazy.
Campbell and Gale Sayers, Terrell Davis, they all got cut short by injury. Marcus Allen didn't get the opportunities he should have gotten when he was younger. He only had 4 seasons, Marcus Allen, where he rushed for over 850 yards. He only had 3 where he went over 1,000. So don't tell me that Charles wasn't great for enough seasons, because no one debates, other than maybe Terrell Davis, who I think deserves to get in. Injuries suck.
He just hurt my feelings a lot, so that's mostly my argument.
No, me too. God, they could not stop that.
That's really all I've got in my anti-Terrell Davis clip.
So that shows that half a decade of excellence is enough. if you can get in for a compelling reason. Does Charles have a compelling reason? He does, but let's deal with the other stuff. He didn't have enough postseason success. That's the one you hear time. That's a garbage argument.
This one sucks.
Barry Sanders, O.J. Simpson, Jim Brown. Look at their postseason records. Okay, that's a garbage argument for a running back. They don't determine that, and that's not fair. That's ridiculous. And if we didn't include guys because they didn't have postseason success, you're leaving out arguably 3 of the greatest running backs in history.
Yeah.
Because honestly, Sanders, Brown, and Simpson might be the 1, 2, 3 people name, maybe other than Walter Payton, if they were thinking like they're top ever.
I don't love that argument for quarterbacks. I certainly don't like it for running backs.
Yeah, running backs, it's not right. The third argument here, he didn't have enough total yards. It's similar to argument 1. He's 56 all-time in rushing. But here's the deal. This isn't the Hall of Longevity. Is Vinny Testaverde greater than Patrick Mahomes? Is Drew Bledsoe greater than Patrick Mahomes? Maybe Carson Palmer? Because those guys played way longer and have thrown for a lot more total yards. But that's not how that works. If a player strings together a bunch of okay seasons, is that better than being exceptional for 5? I don't think so, because Vinny Testaverde ain't in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And Drew Bledsoe's not going to get there. Phillip Rivers, there's a debate, and he's been good for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So none of those arguments work when you look at who's already in the Hall of Fame. And then once you have that established, and it's very clear guys with less longevity than him made the Hall. So then you got to ask, well, okay, all those guys had a compelling reason. How about being the most productive running back by touch of the 21st century by a mile?
By the difference between eyeballing it here, literally like second, but by the same distance between LaDainian Tomlinson and Thomas Jones.
Yeah,
that's where Jamal Charles ends up, being that far ahead of LaDainian Tomlinson or Maurice Jones-Drew.
It's insane. And so what I did is I took some numbers. We have some great numbers like expected points averaged or expected points added per carry, that type of stuff. And one really great one based on, and it's really hard to get into all this.
Is it rushing yards over expected per rush?
Yep. Rushing yards over expected, which, to just give people a very brief thing, basically, because we have next-gen tracking stats now, what smarter people than me can do is plug the numbers of where everyone is on the field, which obviously takes into account alignment and movement, and you can average out how much a runner should be expected to gain per carry based on where everyone is on the field at the snap and how they move when the ball is handed off, right? Jamal Charles is so far and away above everyone else in that stat, rushing yards over expected. So that's something that's finally like, well, you got to take into account blocking. This is a stat that does that. You got to take into account defenses played. This is a stat that accounts for that. And Jamal Charles is so much better, and this is in the article, and again, it's free for everyone to look at. The way this analytics account phrased it, when it comes to purely rushing the ball, Jamal Charles has been the one running back that has truly mattered this century. Because it really is him and then this massive gap in the chart and everyone else, no matter who else you're thinking of, whether it's Mark Ingram or LaDainian Tomlinson, Maurice Jones-Drew, Sean Alexander, Murray, Turner, Barber, Foster, Peterson. It doesn't matter. It is Charles and then a massive gap in everyone else. And that should matter. The fact that a player was objectively, quantifiably better than everyone else should be the biggest factor in Hall of Fame consideration. And Charles was in a way that we can prove. So that's the meat of the argument there. And then there's the number 2 argument for him. And that's just if you literally ever watched him play.
Yeah, right.
And I don't even know, like, you know what I mean? Like, especially in person.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those, people always joke around, I don't know how to define whatever, but I know it when I see it. Greatness is like that. And anyone, and like, I think no one really watched the Chiefs from 2008 to 2014. Even when Reed took over, they were still kind of they were just getting back to respectability. And then just as they were starting to get over that hump, Charles got hurt. He describing what made him great, I have tried and failed a ton of times. So you can read the article and look at some of the, the pretty pictures and watch him play. But I mean, he was genuinely great. And you could see the difference between him and every other player on the field. I have watched a lot of great players live. And the only one that jumps out the way that Charles does is Patrick Mahomes. And like Tyreek Hill is close. Because he's just so blindingly fast. But Charles did not look like he was playing the same sport as everyone else.
Yeah.
It's just impossible to describe. It's like, I mean, I'm more so than Eric Berry at his peak. More so than Travis Kelce. More so than any of these great players. More so than Derek Johnson. He was just different than everyone else on the field. He was just faster. And he cut better. And it's like he saw the field differently. And I just wish I had the ability to describe it. I don't. He was just so great at football. And I talk a lot about I talk a lot about football being a beautiful sport. And I really think it is. And no one else played it like he did. And they're obviously great running backs. Sanders had a kind of a different style. But I mean, the way Charles played, he was such a great player. And it was so obvious watching him how great he was for anyone who bothered to pay attention. And to me, you combine the quantifiable greatness with that subjective but easy to see greatness. I don't understand how it's even a discussion. So that's me. I was not 6 minutes. But
no, but whatever you have now become late for is your problem, and I got more good radio out of you for the night. So I'm not complaining. If you haven't seen the piece, go read it. You've given both the quantifiable and sort of the by feel, by eye test argument. And whenever those two things agree this way, I feel like the argument could just be done. I hope so very much. That Jamal Charles ends up being in the Hall of Fame, and I hope that he invites you and a printed out copy of this article to the induction ceremony. I, at the very least, will argue on your behalf. So, Seth, thank you for making all this time for us, as always. And go check it out, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. You can check out his work in The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter, @RealMNChiefsFan. I think that's all of it. If there's anything else, you can correct me now.
I'm probably doing all sorts of other stuff, but the biggest thing is Charles belongs in the Hall of Fame.
And also the Chick-fil-A sauce that you can get at the store is the same as you get at the restaurant.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app and 810WHB.com.
Another season of frigid temperatures is finally behind us. But with the good comes some bad, because another winter in the books means another year of wear and tear on your roof. Greg Gurley here. Wouldn't it be nice to sleep well knowing you can trust the roof over your head? You can with the company I trust, Buck Roofing. Buck Roofing has fixed the roof over my mom's head and thousands of KC homeowners and commercial buildings. Jayhawks, Wildcats, and Tigers all agree that Buck Roofing is simply the best in Kansas City. Ron and his team are experts in residential, commercial roofing, and they can do your gutters too. Don't just take my word for it. Check their rating with Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. Buck Roofing will do only the work that needs to be done, and you can trust that you are getting a fair bid. Put this number in your phone now, 913-384-2680. That's 913-384-2680, or online at ourbuckroofing.com. And sleep well knowing Buck Roofing fixed the roof over your head.
Don't be that guy this summer. You know, the guy with the T-shirt on in the pool. You could still be slimmer for this summer, since it only takes 40 days to lose 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. NJ Diet's contractually guaranteed program starts with bioenergetically personalized supplements based on your hair, saliva, and blood work. Then, NJ Diet uses DNA testing to create your ideal diet plan and workout regimen to help you keep it off for the rest of your life. Not sure if you can do it alone? NJ Diet is with you every step of the way. You're fully monitored by their certified staff to make sure you're burning fat and not just losing water. You'll also get the doctor's personal email and phone number. It's all natural. No shots, no hormones, and no surgery. With offices close by in Overland Park or available from home with live online video consultations. Visit njdiet.com or call 855-5NJ-DIET. Go to njdiet.com and lose the weight for good. That's njdiet.com.
Did you know that most adults with autism are unemployed, and a major hurdle is the lack of job opportunities? That's why Autism Speaks is teaming up with Lee Container, the J. Donald and Laurel Lee Family Foundation Fund, and Delivering Jobs to create a more inclusive workforce in the U.S. Are you an HR professional, community leader, or business owner? Join us in creating a workforce where people of all abilities can contribute and thrive. To learn more, visit autismspeaks.org/employment.
Furnished by the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Clay's cleaning service has a spotless reputation.
Take care of the windows. Hello, this is Clay.
But his business operations could use a light dusting.
Boy, I had you scheduled for next week. I'll just check here. No, absolutely. We will be there tomorrow.
Indeed can help him hire the people he needs.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
What a dumb show.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Thanks again to Seth Keysor for joining us as he does so generously every Tuesday. Go check out the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. I want to talk about Jamal Charles now. Seth got to, and then I decided I wanted to wrap up tonight's show. Here's a couple things that I wanted to dig back into from this piece that you gotta watch to see the gifts. You've got to watch to break it all down and to see Seth break it all down. But as the person who, as far as I can tell, maybe the most loudly in this area, it was covered by area codes on that Royals New Era hat, and also perhaps the 816. I have been as loud as anybody, I think, about the value of running backs and the lack thereof, right? Why you shouldn't invest in them. And frankly, some of this Jamal Charles stuff is going to prove that point even more so. But I wanted to go back to the chart that Seth mentioned from, it was MFB Analytics, Michigan Football Analytics on Twitter. They had a great thread that I was looking back at again earlier today because they tweeted this out earlier this month. But whenever you look at genuinely incredible running backs, I'm going to use this both for my agenda and also to talk about Jamal Charles. There is a lump in the middle of EPA per rush, expected points added per rush, and rushing yards over expected per rush. The funny thing is that at straight up 0-0, just kind of right around that range, as far as running backs go, literally none of these guys from 1999 through 2020 with a minimum of 1,400 carries, okay? These are guys who have had a ton of work. You'll know every name from this list. But Maurice Jones-Drew and LaDainian Tomlinson and Sean Alexander, with the exception of Jamal Charles, are all towards the top of this chart. And they are still in the negatives, the barely negatives, but still in the negatives on EPA per rush. Now, that is a stat that comes in mass, that isn't, as Seth would say, an aggregation stat, but it's for those teams, even with those backs, they would have probably been better off throwing the ball instead of even handing it off to Hall of Famers, the elite of the elite, the dominant of the dominant. Jamal Charles is hanging up out there about 0.04, which is an order of magnitude beyond the second best players in terms of EPA per rush. In terms of rushing yards over expected per rush, it's really, really hard. The best guys on this list, Melvin Ingram is there adding about 0.3 yards per rush. Tiki Barber, nearly 0.4. Adrian Peterson, a little bit under 0.2. There with Arian Foster, Fred Taylor, Michael Turner. Excellent running backs, but the absolutely elite of those guys, Le'Veon Bell is down kind of towards the bottom of that little chunk, despite having, Curtis Martin and Jonathan Stewart and Willis McGahee and Thomas Jones. Emmitt Smith, like incredible running backs are pushed down this chart, which for me, in terms of the running back based conversations we've had, you can take the absolute best this sport has ever had, and you will still not find a running back in this group that actually impacted the game beyond himself at a rate that would say, you know what, that running back really did matter. That guy does not exist from the last 20 years, except for Jamal Charles. He is the glistening, gleaming example on this chart. The outlier that you would literally shave off of the chart if it wasn't a specific ball carrier. You can say, well, that guy, that's simply not going to happen. Eddie George and Cedric Benson, by the way, on the wrong end of the chart. But Jamal Charles was more good from this group than anyone else was bad. He was lifting his team and putting up these performances in a way that literally no one else in the last 20 years with this sort of usage at 1,400 carries or more ever did. And that, for me, as a person who loves analytics and often has conflicting feelings about running backs, that chart, for me, could make the case for Jamal Charles to be a Hall of Famer. Seth did it much more eloquently and in many more factors and many other places across the NFL. But if you haven't seen it yet, please go check out Seth's story. Maybe that'll hold you over till tomorrow's Almost Entirely Sports. As of right now, I'm pretty sure that we have, and as of right now, I'm pretty sure we're going to have 2 really good guests tomorrow. You have to tune in at 7 o'clock or listen on the podcast to find out who and when that's all going to be. We'll talk to you then. Bye, Mom.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on